Turn off your lights. Make sure your doors and windows are locked. Things are about to get spooky. When I came across the magical cup, I wished to swap lives with the rich, cute girl in my class, thinking I would have everything I wanted. But as I sat in her mansion, her mother handed me a glass of water for dinner, amidst a table filled with food with a stern reminder: girls can't be fat. "This one will kill you in a matter of hours," said my grandfather as he pointed at a mushroom in the ground. "And this one will kill you in a matter of days," said as he pointed at the mushroom over the horizon. I couldn't help but shake my head at the fortune cookie's dark decree: the man you love will die tonight. "I'm a lesbian idiot," I muttered, smiling as the front door opened and my girlfriend shuffled in, tired from work and still wearing her name tag that read Catherine Mann. This new living death virus makes all of your unconscious actions conscious. I have to think about every breath I take, concentrate to make my heart beat, force every blink of my eyes. I can't take this anymore. When you lie, only Mommy and Daddy can see your ears turn red, and we know that you're lying, I told my son to make it easier to tell when he was lying. Imagine my horror when I saw a pair of wet red ears on the floor. The young girl had been granted with infinity wishes. When she accidentally did something embarrassing at school, she said, "I wish a black hole sucked me up at that moment." Any successful serial killer is going to need 3 things: a large capacity freezer, a 24-inch bandsaw, and a can-do attitude, offered a new friend, now half drunk at my kitchen table. "And a first victim," I smiled. My wife told me she needed to make a grocery run and she'd be back in a couple minutes. As the police towed her totaled car out of the ditch a decade later, I only wish I told her I loved her before she stepped out. Tears streamed down my cheeks as I told her that she always makes me feel shit about myself and that I can't do anything right. I could barely suppress my smile as I watched my elderly mother try to not vomit as she ate the raw chicken. Is it just me, or is this sub dying? I don't care though. She's a shit teacher and I'm going to beat the hell out of her until she either kicks the bucket or changes my grade. It's not the monster you dread, but the shadow. It creeps across the room, your books, your shoes, until it clutches the bed and chills your skin with the airless, cold breath of the dark. I screamed in pain and fell to my knees as my eyes popped and the baby insects started crawling out of the holes where they used to be. It was only then that I remembered the cruel smile and strange clicking noises my wife made when she kissed me goodbye. I felt nothing as they unceremoniously took my newborn away. In the battery of cages surrounding me, I could see the other women, all in various stages of pregnancy, looking at me with identical hollow-eyed stares. When we got married, my husband said to me that he would never let my stomach go empty. Now that I'm carrying his 4th child, I'm beginning to realize he didn't mean food. My grandmother foresaw that one day I would drink myself to death, so I never touched a drop of alcohol my entire life. Fortunately, my fraternity said that I can still do the hazing with water. I just have to keep drinking until they tell me to stop. Please let my son go. Here's 50 grand. I'll give you the rest tomorrow, I pleaded, handing over a full bag of cash. The kidnapper smiled, tossing a bag of his own. I'll give you the rest tomorrow, too. The only guilt the woman had was that she was going to leave her son in a world full of monsters like those who were filming her. Jump, her son commented on the grainy live stream of the woman standing on the guardrail of a bridge. Ever since my best friend's body was found in the creek near our house, my parents have not allowed me to leave the house. Keeping me chained up in the basement is the only way to prevent me from hunting anyone else. They say most lottery winners end up making poor decisions with drugs and alcohol. You can't really blame them when they're shipped overseas into foxholes and shot at. Sorry about my apartment being cold. I apologized to my Tinder hookup when I heard her teeth chattering. It's the only way to slow my decomposition, I explained. Help me, I'm trapped, cried the little girl through the freshly uncovered gaps in the rubble. Fuck that, yelped the archaeologist as he hurriedly placed back the ancient tombstones. Never judge a book by its cover. I learned the hard way those words are fake when said book's cover is made of human skin. My skin went cold as I finally saw my missing toddler in the crowd. Mommy, he shouted as his eyes locked onto mine from across the busy intersection. My spirit wandered the rooms of my remote cabin as I contemplated all the mistakes I had made throughout my life. I walked into the bedroom and gazed down into the crib at my infant daughter's malnourished body and prayed that someone would find her in time. The moment my husband opened the front door for that frantic woman, I knew our marriage was over. I watched her snarl and bite into my husband's arm, and in self-preservation, I had to run before he turned into one of them too. I asked the fortune teller, what's the worst mistake I'll ever make? She replied, you'll kill 189 people. I turned on the news one day to see a report about a bridge collapsing due to poor infrastructure, and I realized what that fortune teller meant all those years ago. My wife got me one of those new bio copies for my birthday, so just for fun, I decided to program him to be the exact opposite of myself in every way. I didn't realize he'd be so likable. After finally getting my teleporter to work, I found myself in a strange place, no idea where I was. But as my lab assistant's giant rubbery soul cast a shadow over me, I realized it wasn't teleporter I had just built. You're not my mother, I hissed at the woman who had been impersonating her all day. The woman smiles and whispers, I'm not, but we both know you're not their real daughter either. As the stray purred and rubbed against my leg, I said, I guess you're coming home with me. It tracked the owner's blood on my shirt, but while I still may be a murderer, I'm not a monster. Oh, every time my cat disappears, I just get another one and name it the same name. I think we're up to Snowball 11 now, aren't we? Miss Todd chuckles. Yes, that's right, Mom, replied Fred 8. The devil appeared before me and presented me with a list of all the sins I would commit over the course of my life. I was surprised there were so few until he offered me a pen and said, "If you want to live forever, just keep adding to the list." When the anesthesiologist said, "Let's count back from 10 and you won't feel any pain." When I got to 6, he leaned in close and whispered, "You won't feel anything ever again." During the Easter parade, Maria's landscaping thought it would be a cute idea to have Maria's 5-year-old son throw paper from the float into the wood chipper to shoot confetti over the crowd. It became a lot less cute when young Johnny tripped while loading the machine. When my wife and I found a time machine in our kidnapper's basement, we decided that our infant son would be safer in the past. It was only then that it hit me how much our kidnapper resembled us both. I'm very proud of my unmarried daughter in her 20s is still a virgin. And I know she is because every time she comes home from a date, I inspect her under the dress to make sure the stitches I put there are still in place. "It's safe, you can come out now," my father said, his blue eyes shined upon me. He's been saying that for hours. But that wouldn't change the fact that my dad's eyes were green. I received a text from my dad that said, "Hey son, I need you and your siblings outside to help me move some stuff, thanks." As I was getting ready, my dad opened the door and said, "Hey son, sorry to bother you, but have you seen my phone?" I felt reassured when the psychic told me I would die in the arms of the one who loved me most. My reassurance faded when my stalker grabbed my throat and started squeezing. When our daughter was born, my husband smiled and said, "You're my second favorite girl now." Tonight, I'll give my lactose-intolerant daughter her first glass of milk. "Make me healthy," wished the sick little girl after she found an old lamp in her basement. "Are you sure you want to reverse your brother's wish?" said a voice from inside the lamp. I opened my eyes in the dark to find my wife sitting up in bed staring at me. Her face was blank, eyes wide open as she whispered, "You're not supposed to see me awake." I walked into the room and found my elderly parents thrashing around in the bed. I had warned them not to wet the bed and hoped the electric wires I had hidden in the mattress would teach them a lesson. I profusely apologized to my sister for forgetting about my 3-year-old niece's peanut allergy as she snatched the needle out of my hand and injected her. I could barely contain my glee watching the look of realization on my sister's face as she dropped the empty heroin needle onto the floor. I snorted at the man's drink request and told him that I wasn't going to give him such a female drink. I regret the decision not to give him an angel's shot as I read about his dismembered corpse being found over a 5-mile radius. Every day, my pets kill each other, believing themselves superior to one another. If only they knew I never made a heaven, only a hell. Serial killers are much rarer these days. The CIA agent continued, "Ever since we shut off the device in the 90s. My first mistake was ignoring the reports of vampires in the city. My second mistake was buying that all are welcome doormat. Cheating is a sin, the woman said to the kid. That's why my husband can never find out that you're not his kid, she added as she threw her daughter off the cliff. I snatched the food out of her hands and reminded her that she had just eaten and needs to lose some weight. I gazed at the confused expression of my elderly mother's face as she stumbled out of the room, and I wondered how much longer until she starves to death. God, I don't know how that psycho keeps getting in after I change my locks. I say to my boyfriend as I hand him the new set of keys. My blood ran cold as the cop locked the cuffs around my wrists. How could I forget to check my copyright license before carelessly humming to myself in public? I informed the parents that we couldn't find their daughter after the earthquake. It was easier than accepting that it was impossible to rescue her even though we heard her buried cries for help. You always stand up to a bully, I told my son one time after picking him up from school. As I lay on the floor bleeding to death, I regretted the foolish advice I had given my little darling after watching him throw down my phone to face his stepfather instead of calling 911. I'm sorry, darling, but the courts granted your father full custody. I couldn't hear my daughter's reply as I held her under the water, but I knew she understood. While standing before the gates of hell, the man's sins were read out loud. $10,245 spent in torturing of animals for medical research. $144,345 in the killing of innocent civilians during warfare. $59,800 spent to fund thieving corporations. The list grew longer, and the man more confused until a chill ran down his spine and he whispered, "Taxes." The cure I develop is more lethal than the disease. The cure doesn't kill them, they just don't remain human. You're not my mother, I hissed at the woman who had been impersonating her all day. The woman smiles and whispers, I'm not, but we both know you're not their real daughter either. Growing up with domestic violence, I swore I'd die if I ever struck a woman in anger. With her banging on the door, trying to forgive me, I hold the gun, preparing to make good on my promise. My pretty young wife loyally held my hand as my organs were shutting down and old age finally claimed me. Her tears were real, and our last moments together were tender and loving. Yet my final thoughts were still a disturbing one. Weren't we both the same age when we were married just a year ago? The doctors said autism can't be cured. But I started corrections with a belt, and my boy is already becoming nice and quiet. You got a scholarship, and that's why a poor student like you was able to take a mission in this wealthy universe built on a planet outside the solar system, said the administrative officer. Did no one tell you that your scholarship only gave you access to a low-level habitation pod that didn't have anti-aging technology? She asked to the 93-year-old student. And for my last wish, I wish you were set free. I should have known there was a reason why they were sealed in that lamp in the first place. And with that, our time together is coming to an end. As always, I would like to thank the writers who let me read their stories this evening. I hope you enjoyed these stories as well. Please remember to like, subscribe, share, and comment. As well as if you're interested in more shorts, I do have a channel, 242 Read Shorts, which will be in the description box for you guys, if you're interested in that. But as always, thank you for watching. Sleep tight, and don't let 42 bite.